Hello guys, you're welcome once again to my channel, and in today's video we're going to be looking at single file upload and multiple file upload with GraphQL, React and Node. Okay, so to show you guys a finished product of what we are going to be building in this video, let me upload a single file here, and let me just upload this file here, this image. So if I click on open, yeah, you can see file uploaded successfully. And if I head over to our application, you can see that this particular file here has been added. And if I try to do multiple file upload here, let's pick, okay, this is still like, let's use this and this. This is part of it too. So I'm going to choose this and this. And yep, let's click on upload, and 2 files has been uploaded. And now let's head over here, and yep, you can see the 2 files that we just successfully uploaded. Okay, so that is just the demo of what we're going to be doing. Of course, the user interface doesn't look great, and that's because I'm not particularly focusing on the user interface for this video. I'm fully focusing on the functionality, basically. Okay, so without any much talking, let's get straight into things. Before we get fully into the content of this video, I'd like to say, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. Also, for this video, if you're watching this video, you can really do well to hit the likes button to encourage me to create more and more content like this. And now let's get straight into creating our application. So the first thing I would like to do is I'm going to open my terminal, and I'm going to go into my node apps directory, so here, and I'm going to make a new directory here called file upload YouTube. Yeah, and I'm going to open file upload YouTube. That should be documents, node apps. Yeah, file upload YouTube. Yeah, and yep, we have this open. I'm going to create a new directory here called client, and then another directory. Oh, sorry, no, not yet. I'm going to create another directory to here called server. So this would be where every single thing about our server will be, and here will be where every single thing about our client would be stored. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this up right now. I'm going to start off by creating our client application. So basically, let me do something here. So create React app new type script. Yep, and here, let's get this. So let me use npx instead. Okay, and then here I'm going to check into the client directory, and I'm going to create a new app here, just so this knows this is within the same directory. While we are waiting for this to be done, I'm going to open a new terminal here, and we're going to create a new node project, and I'm going to say npm init-y, and yep, oh boy, sorry. This shouldn't be here, so let me delete this, move to trash, and I need to move to the server and then run npm init y. Yep, and then we have our package.json set up. And right after this, I'm going to create my tsconfig file. So, and my tsconfig is just going to have some very basic setups. Okay, so now we have set up our tsconfig.json file. I'm going to save this right now. And remember, we are setting our root directory to be the source directory. So I'm going to create a new directory here called source. And let's get straight into installing the dependencies that we would use for this application. And so we're going to use cause express GraphQL. So yeah, I'm actually using express GraphQL upload, and helmet. And now we have all our dependencies installed. Next up is we want to install our dev dependencies. So for our dev dependencies, we're going to, since we're using Typescript, we will need types for cause and types for express, and types for express GraphQL too. GraphQL, yeah. And we also need types for GraphQL too, and types for GraphQL upload, and then types for helmet, and also need types for node mon, TS Node, right? And the last is Typescript. And all our dev dependencies have successfully been installed. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set up our script. So the first script I want to set up here is going to be our Tsc script. So basically this would be responsible for our TypeScript file conversions. So yep, this is in bin, and then this is Tsc. Yes. And then also our dev. So basically this is what would start our application. And because we want our application to constantly be updated every single time we make a change, so we're going to be using NodeMon for this. And that's actually the reason why we installed NodeMon as part of our dev dependencies. And so, yep, node modules being NodeMon, yes. We want to watch for changes. And yep, the directory where our files would be, and not to actually, because this is within our root. And yep, all files with the tx extension, execute, cs node type check, and yep, our source, and then our server.ts. Okay, so now that we have done this, we want to create our server.ts file right within our source, and that is going to be what would kickstart our application. So right in our server.ts, I'm going to create a class here, and I'm going to call this class server. And here I'm going to call express, not expression. Okay, let me see. Export default class, sorry. Yeah, server. And here our app instance would be a type of our express, yep, application. Okay, and why do we have this here saying property app has no initializer and is not definitely assigned in the constructor? Okay, so let's assign this in our constructor, and then I will say this app would be equal to our express instance. Yep. And then after this, would have a public function here that I would call configuration. And after instantiating express, we want to call configuration here. Okay, and then right in here, a couple of things I want to set up here. And so I want to set up the port that we would use for this. And so process that env, the port. Okay, so if we have an env file, but since we don't have an env file, I'm going to set this to port 6500. And here we have an error. Why? Argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type request. Okay, that's because we forgot to say set. Okay, so we want to set the port to port this port 6500, and we want to use express JSON here, and also URL encoding, and we also want to use cause here. So this is the app that use. Yes. And then we don't have cause imported. This is supposed to auto import these things for me. Okay, so let's import cause. Yes. And then we want to use helmet here too, and want to use helmet, and we need to set the content security policy here. I think because we are using GraphQL upload for some weird reason, if we don't set the content security policy, so differentiate between production and the node production and test. That's between production and development server doesn't just work. Okay, so production, and here if it's undefined or it's false. Yep, and we need to also import helmet here too. So I'm going to import helmet from helmet. And then we also need to set up a GraphQL server. And since we want to upload files, so basically we are using GraphQL Express server together with GraphQL upload. So we would want to set the route first of all to be GraphQL, whatever you want to set the endpoint to be, and then call our GraphQL, our GraphQL upload express, and then we want to set the maximum file size. So the maximum file size, I mean, I'm just going to set it to something very large, and then the maximum number of files that we want to allow to ever be uploaded at once, and I'm going to set this to 10. And then we also want to set up our GraphQL HTTP, and then we are going to called schema, which we have not created here. And if you want to use GraphQL, you can use GraphQL, but for GraphQL, I'm just going to set that to false. And we don't have the schema, so that's why we have this here. We're going to create the schema in a second, but before we do that, sorry, I'm supposed to do that here. But before we actually create the schema, we basically want to start this server. So I'm going to call public start, a new method here called start, and then if process. So basically, if it's not a test. So basically, if this is not a test server, then what we can do is we just call our app to listen on the port that we set. So this is the app.get, and then we call the port, and then just to be sure that application is started successfully, we can just log the ports to the console, or say app started on this port, and the port here is port. Okay, so what we can do now is we need to create an instance of this class and then start our application. And so to do that, we're going to say server, and then this is new server, and then here would say server start. Okay, so before we actually start application, we'll need to create our schema in order to avoid our application failing to build properly. And so we're going to create a new directory here and call this schema. And in our schema, we will have a new folder here called mutations, and another new folder here called query, and then another new folder here called type definitions. And our schema would have an index file where we would basically bootstrap every single thing into. So for our mutations, I'm going to create a new file here, and I'm just going to call this file upload. File upload.ts. And of course, even though we're not going to be using our query, we would need to provide at least one query so that things don't fail. And then of course, I'm going to create a new query here, and I'm going to call this file upload query, right? That's here. So okay, so let's start off with our mutation. And for our mutation, I'm going to create our file upload mutation here. Okay, and in our file upload mutation, we would have a type here which we are yet to create called file upload response type, and then our expected arguments. So for expected arguments, we'll just be expecting only one argument, which is a file which has a type of a scalar type called upload type, which we would also create. Let me get rid of this, and then we would have our resolve method here. So our resolve method would take our parent, the argument, and then our context, and this would just go fine. For our parents, we would have a type of any. For argument, because we are expecting a type of file, I'm going to create an interface here, and I'm going to call this interface iForm params. Okay, and iForm params is going to take a file, and for this file, I'm just going to give it a type of any. So here, this would have a iForm, sorry, the type of iForm params. Okay, and our context too would just be type of any. In fact, we're not going to make use of the context either way, so I'm even just going to get rid of it altogether. Okay, so here we're just going to return success of true and a message that says this mutation works. Okay, so let's quickly create our file upload response type and our scalar type of upload type. Okay, so to do that, we'll head over to our type definitions. I'm going to create a new file here, and this would be called file upload.cs. And so we're going to create our two types. The first type is our file upload response type, and then this would be and here we are going to give it the name. So the name is going to be file upload. And then for the fields that we are expecting here, so the fields we're expecting is really simple. So we are expecting success. I do hope my spelling of success is correct. And this is going to be a type of GraphQL Boolean. And then a message here. And then this would be a type of GraphQL. Oh boy. This would be a type of GraphQL string. So, and then also an error status, which would also be a type of GraphQL Boolean and error. And this would be a type of GraphQL string. And then token, which would be a type of GraphQL string. And then the second type we would create here is our upload type, and our upload type is going to be new. Yep, GraphQL scalar type. Okay, so using the GraphQL scalar type, we are going to customize exactly what we would be expecting for our upload type. Okay, so basically the name is going to be upload. Now, for the serialized props here, we are expecting a file, and I will set this file to a type of any, all right, and then this would return the file. Then a pass value, we would also set the file to, right? And this will also be any, and then this would also return the file. And then the last is going to be the pass literal. So the pass literal 2 would take the file and would also return the file. Okay, so basically what this scalar type is allowing us to do is that it's basically allowing us to be able to pass just any kind of, like anything we want to pass that is outside of the regular thing that GraphQL basically can handle. So by setting this uploads, you know, and then expecting to get a file, when we pass the file props or the file object, having all the file params with this type of any, it will just having all the file params, it will just perfectly work just as expected. Okay, so now that we have set up our upload type and our file upload response, I'm going to save this right now. And then there's one more thing I actually wanted to say, which I did forget to say. By default in GraphQL is really you can't really upload files. So the package that we are using that is actually helping us upload files, just in case you're watching this video and then you're wondering, hey, but this is not like built into default by GraphQL. It's actually this GraphQL upload here. And when we were setting up our server here, you can see that we set up our GraphQL upload express, which is basically coming from our GraphQL upload, and then we set up the file params as max file size and max file size here. Okay, so here, now that we have set up our type definitions here, we then want to call them in here. So we're going to import them here. And the first thing is I want to get rid of this because this is not what it's coming from. And then I'm going to import upload type, right? Okay, this is already done here. And then upload file upload response here, response type. So that this is perfectly defined here as our type definitions. Okay, all right, so now that we have this, let me just save this. And one more thing, we would want to just set up a single query, even though we're not going to be using anything that has to do with like our query here. And I'm going to just set up a single query here called get all, and we'll just set anything here. So basically let me just set this as a GraphQL list. So yeah, let's just GraphQL list. So let's call our file upload response type. So basically we're not going to be using this, so like this is almost just not useful, but we need this sort of, because GraphQL basically requires that you set, even if it's a single query, else it's going to throw some error. So we're just going to set this and just pass arguments, just anything in here, and then let's just return an array. Okay, so I'm going to save this right now, and then in our index.ts, where we're going to tie everything together, I'm going to define our root mutation, and yep, this is going to be a GraphQL object type. And now this GraphQL object type is going to take the name, which is actually the mutation, and then the fields that we are expecting for this mutation. So for now, we just have one, which is our file upload. All right, so I'm going to call that and then pass the file upload method. So we have set up our root mutation. Now let's set up our root query. And here, I'm going to say root query. And then this is going to be new GraphQL object type. And the name would be the root query. And here, the field would call this get all basically. And then we created a function here called get all. So that should go. Okay, so right now, let's export the schema. And this would be a new instance of our GraphQL schema. Yes. And then we want to pass our root query and our root mutation. So root query and mutation would have our root mutation. And now here we can then, let me call schema here. So that would also import that, yes. And now we have everything working just fine. So we can then start our server. So I'm going to say yarn run dev. And we have an error here saying no license field, unexpected EOVY matching. Okay. Okay. I think this is coming from this dev here. Maybe I didn't write this fine. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to head over here and let me just go straight to my repo. Yes, and here just go to package.json and I'm going to copy this to scripts. Yeah. So it looks like I didn't type things correctly here. So I'm going to, oh boy, what am I doing? Yep. Now run dev and yep. Starting TS node type check, and then we have an error here saying, looks like we have a problem with our schema. Unable to compile Typescript server.ts 624. And why is that? We have our schema. Oh, okay, I have to save this right now. And yep, you can see our app started on this port 6500. Okay, so now that we have a perfect setup for our GraphQL application, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start off with our React application here. And in our React application, I'm going to head over to our app.ts. So we are going to be creating our single file upload input and our multiple file upload input. Okay, so I'm going to head in here and then I'm going to and start this application. And right here we have our React application launched on the browser. So what I want to do now is let's just head back here and we're going to get rid of virtually every single thing here. We're just going to leave this div and then we are going to create our form. The first thing I want to do is let's see, I want to give this a margin top of right around 200 pixels so that there's just like some margin between it and the top here. I'm then going to create a h3 element here that says single file upload. Okay, so that this would be our indicator, and then we have a div here, and in this div, this is where every single thing for our single file upload is going to go in. And then I'll create another h3 here, and this would be our multiple file upload. All right, and then I'm going to create a div here, and in here is where all our multiple file upload content is going to go in. And then what I'm going to do now is right up here, let's see, I'm going to create a div here, and in this div is exactly where we're going to have our response. So I'm just going to style this a bit and just give this a background color of red so that it just has like a background color. Then we have like a color of white, and then we want the font width to be bold. And in here, we just have a text say response area for single file uploads. And I'm going to save this right now. Down here, after this response area, then we have our input of type, which is file, and the name is going to be file. Then the ID is also going to be file, and then on change, we're going to have a function here called upload file. Yep. And then let me just copy this right now, and then I'm going to paste that in here too. And here we're going to say upload multiple files. So this is upload file, upload multiple file. Let me create that function up here. And so this is going to be upload file. And I'm also going to create our upload multiple file. Okay. And I'm going to save this right now. And just to be sure that things are looking as we expect, yep, you can see we have single file upload, response for single files, and multiple file upload and response, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's head back over here. And what I want to do next is I'm going to start working on our upload file function. And in here, because we are basically trying to trigger this function whenever we have an unchange on this upload file, we are going to then use the event here. And this is of type React change event, and this is the HTML input element. Yeah. Yuck. Okay. Now that we have this, the first thing we want to check is we're going to check to see if the file property that we are looking for, so if it's not present, so basically if like there's nothing there, right, then we just basically terminate this function. But then if it does exist, then I'm going to console.log the target file. Yes, I'm going to log the target file. And so let's just stick with single file upload first, and then we'll do multiple file upload later. Okay, so now I'm just going to save this right now and then head over to our browser. And now let's just refresh this, and let's head over to our console, and I'm going to upload the file here. And yep, you can see the properties of this file. So the type and the different properties of this file. So now that we have a full hold of the properties of this file, yep, we can then move on to the next thing. So I did forget to install the dependencies for our React application. So I think now is going to be like a really good time to install those dependencies. So I'm going to head over to our package.json for our React application, and I'm going to open a new terminal here. And then I'm going to check into the clients directory. And here we're just going to make use of 3 packages. So I'm going to add, we need the ApolloClient. So ApolloClient is to help us work really well with GraphQL. And then, of course, we also need Apollo Upload Client and GraphQL. And yep, we have our dependencies installed: Apollo Client, Apollo Upload Client, and GraphQL. The next thing I want to do after this is just to set up our GraphQL client. And then in our source, I'm going to create a new directory, and then I'm going to call this GraphQL. And then in here, I'm going to create a new file called my GraphQL HTTP setup. And here also would have our mutations and another directory for our queries. So in our GraphQL HTTP setup, we want to set up our base URL, which is a string, and then this is going to be on our port 6000. So sorry, I think it's 6500. And then our GraphQL endpoint, which is the endpoint that we set here on our server.ts here, so our GraphQL endpoint. Okay, so right after setting up our base URL, I'm going to import our create upload link, and then this is going to come from Apollo Upload Client. Yep. And why do we have this here? Okay, and then we would then say create upload link, and then the URL here would be our base URL. And could not find. Okay, so we have not added the types. So let's just add the types here. So yarn add types Apollo upload client -d. So this is a dev dependency. And yep, now that works just fine. I'm going to save this now. And having set this up, I'm then going to export our client. And this is of type Apollo client. And yep, we're going to then create Apollo. What is this for? Export cons. Sorry, client. Yeah. And then this is going to be our new Apollo client. And would set the cache to be the in-memory cache. Yep. And then the link would be set to our link defined here. So basically, our create upload link is being used to bootstrap our endpoint. And normally we wouldn't be using create upload link if we were not trying to handle file uploads using Apollo upload clients. So this is like one of the major difference between the setup for Apollo upload clients and when you're using like your regular GraphQL, where you would just pass the link directly and then the cache property. Here we would have to add like the create upload link to help us with file upload, since we want to upload files and we are making use of Apollo upload client to help us handle that. Okay, so now that we have this set up, the next thing we want to set up is we want to create our mutation. And so I'm going to create a new file here called file upload mutation.cs. So now that we have created our file upload mutation file, in here, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to import GQL. And yep, we want to import GQL from our Apollo client, basically. And then we are going to then define our file upload, and not this, not you. Okay. And then our file upload is going to make use of our GQL Apollo client. And in here, we're going to declare a mutation here, which is our file upload mutation. We would pass the file param and then the type, which is the upload type, right? And then we are going to call our file upload again. And this time around, we would call the file and then we'll assign this file here that we have defined to this here. And then right now we now have access to the response that we are expecting. So we'd have the success, the message, the error status, error, and then the token. Okay, so this mutation here is exactly what we defined here. Okay, not here, but in our server. So let me just say that us, not our server, sorry, but our index here. You can see this file upload mutation here. And for the fields where we have the upload, the file, which is of type of uploads. If I checked in here, you can see file, which is of type of upload type. And this upload type has the name of uploads. Okay, let me save this. Okay, so now that we have this set up, I'm going to save this right now. And then I'm going to head over to our app.txt and we want to call GraphQL mutation in here. So we're going to make use of the use mutation hook to do this, which was provided for us by ApolloClient. I'm going to import use mutation, and this is from ApolloClient. And then a couple of things here. So first off, let me just set a response for single file upload, and then this is set response, and this would use use state, and this is actually a string. I mean, are we expecting anything? Okay, string. Yep. And then we have set up our response here. So I'm going to get rid of this first. And now right in here, I'm going to call our file upload here as the method. And I'm going to destructure to get the data and the loading values. And then we would then make use of the use mutation. Okay, so right inside of our use mutation, I'm going to call our file upload here. And then after our file upload, I'm going to set a couple of things here. So if there is an error, yes, then also if things have completed, so if our actions actually completed here. So here, if there's an error, this should be of type Apollo error. Yeah. So if there's an error here, then we want to log to the console error, and then we also want to set our response to the error message property here. All right, and then here we can have our data here, which is basically our response, and here I'm going to also log this to the console. So we're then going to say if our data props, the file upload here, which is our file upload mutation, so if it has a success prop, right, we then just want to alert whatever is going to be the response message. So so data file upload dot the message, and then also we also want to set response to take the value of our file upload message. Okay, so this is if things are complete. So what I want to do here is I'm going to come back over here, and in here I'm going to set this to our response. And after setting this to be the value of our response, we basically want to call this file upload mutation function here within our upload file here. And so we are basically going to first declare our data here, and then the file would take the target file, so either target.files. And since we are basically uploading just a single file, we're going to pass the single file here. And then right here, I'm going to call the file upload. And of course, the variables, not var, but the variables as expected will then be our data props here. Okay, and let's save this right now. And now let's head over to our browser. And okay, so we have an error here, so it could not find clients in context. Okay, so we have forgotten to wrap our application inside of our Apollo provider. So let's just head over to our index.ts, not this, right? Our index.ts here. And I'm going to get rid of this. And this would wrap our Apollo provider. And the client would be our client, which we have defined. And we're going to pass the app inside of our Apollo provider here. And I'm going to get rid of this. And the client is our GraphQL HTTP setup, or in our GraphQL HTTP setup here. So we set the cache and then our link. Okay, so I'm going to save this right now, and I think that should work just fine. Yep, so I'm going to inspect this and then just head over to the console. And now let's try to upload a single file here. And of course, this mutation works, is what we get as our response. And you can see this mutation works. And yep, so we are sure that things are set up as they should be set up. So it's now basically time for us to upload the file on the server. So I'm going to head back over to our mutation, which is our file upload.ts here. Okay, not this. Our file upload.ts mutation here. And in here, we are going to upload the file. And what we are going to do here is we are going to extract the create read stream, and then also we're also going to extract the file name and the MIME type. So yeah, and then this is going to be a promise, or let's just wait them. I think what I'm going to do here first is just so you see, I'm going to try to log our file props here. So I'm going to await the argument dot file here. Okay, so if I save this right now, and let me head back to our server here. So our node mine has started our server once we save that. Now I'm going to head over in here just so you see what it returns for us. And I'm going to try to upload a file here. Yep, and let's head back over here just so you see. You can see right now that our upload type here is returning a file property here. And so this is the file property that we want to have access to. So by this file here is returning this file property. So basically this file property is what it contains our create read stream here. As you can see, it also contains our file name as well as our MIME type. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I am going to extract those properties. So we're going to extract the create read stream. We are also going to extract the file name, and we're also going to extract the MIME type. And then of course, this is going to be extracted from our argument file props, but then the file props of the file props. So which is this file prop here, which has this following parameters. And now that we have our create read stream here, we can then declare this and actually create the stream for our file. So I'm going to say our stream here, which would call our create read stream here, which would create our stream. And then going to give this a unique name, and unique name, this should be a string. And we're going to create a new function, basically call this function file renamer, that would pass the file name and then it would rename the string. So now let's just quickly head on to create that function. And to save me some time on creating this function, I'm just going to head back over here, and let's just head over to our server, and in our helpers here, file helper function.cs, I'm going to copy this function, and let's head back over here. And within our source, I'm going to create a new directory called helpers. And in our helpers, I'm going to create our file helper function, and I'm going to paste this in here. So basically, this is a function file renamer. It takes a string as its parameter and it returns a type of string. And all this just does is that this is the current time, and it will just append whatever is the name of the file to the current time. And so I'm just going to save this right now, and not the current time, sorry, timestamp here. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to call file renamer here. Yes. And now that we have generated a new file name for this, what I'm then going to do next is I'm going to append, basically just to get the path that we want to write the stream to. So I'm going to append the new name of the file to the path where we want to. So I'm going to upload this into a files directory. So let me create that files directory too in our root here. So we're going to have a new folder here called files. And then I'm then going to append our new unique name to it here. Okay, we don't have path imported, so let's just import path from path. Yep. And now that we have this, the last thing we want to do is we want to write this stream. So I'm going to pipe this stream, right? So pipe, and I'm going to make use of fs here. And for some weird reason, this is not imported. So let's just import nodes file system. So this is from file system here. And here we are going to create a write stream and then the path name. Okay, so basically what this would do is that this would basically move this file to this files directory here. Okay, so now that that is successful, then we can then return this. So I'm going to save this right now. And if we have everything working as expected, if I head over to the browser here and I refresh this one more time, now let's see. Let's upload this right now, and file truncates as it exists. Okay, 10 byte size. What I'm going to do is let me head over to our GraphQL, not our GraphQL, sorry, for our server here, server.cs. actually we made a mistake here. So this is supposed to be max file, and I said max file size, so max files here, so this will be 10. And now let's save that, and I'm sure that that error should no longer pop up again. So now let's head back over here, and then let's do that one more time. And we have an error here saying failed to fetch. Let's head back here, and the file did not upload. So let me see. We have here saying no such file or directory. So basically it is not able to see this file's directory. So let me see. Let's head back over to our file upload mutations here, and let me see if I defined it correctly. Okay, so here let's see, we are moving, and okay, so why is it not recognizing our files directory here, even though we have this directory created here? Let me save this first, and this is our mutations, and then we move one step up, and then we get to our schema. And oh boy, sorry, this was actually created in our client. Oh boy. Oh, so let's just move this over to our source in our server here. Let's move that here. Yep, so that would just work fine. All right, so let's just do that one more time, and add this, upload this, and we still have failed to fetch. Why? Okay, sorry, that's because yeah, we have not defined this. So we have files, and then we can then append the unique name. Yes. So now save that, and let's just do that again, and add here, upload. And yep, we have this mutation works, which means our file uploaded successfully. So let's just head over to our server, source, files, and yep, here we have the file that we just uploaded now. And you can see that it appended a timestamp to it. So yep, that is going to be that for single file upload. Okay, so now that we have done single file upload, let's just do multiple file upload. So for multiple file upload, I'm not going to be starting from the server for this. I'm going to be starting from the client. So let's just head back over to our client here, and in our source here, not here, in our app.ts, sorry, in here, we have this upload multiple file function here. And then if you see, this is actually called here. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to set this to allow for multiple files. So I'm going to set this to true so that we can allow the user to select as many files as possible. And now I'm going to save this right now. And then in our upload multiple file function here, we're going to call our event property here. So this is going to be React change event. And here, this is going to be a type of HTML input element. Okay, and then right in here, I'm going to say if the target files, basically if there are any files uploaded here, and then of course, these functions are also returning the type of void. And then of course here, we'll just return nothing here. And then here also, this function too is also void. Yep. Now that we have this, the next thing we want to do is we want to get all the files. So this time around, since we are not handling a single file, then this would be a file list. So we are going to extract all the files, and then we are going to then say the file prop here like this. And then for now, we are just going to log that to the console. So we're going to log the data props to the console. So I'm going to save this right now. And if I head over to the browser, right, and I refresh this, and then I inspect elements. So just head over to the console, and let's see, let's select as many files as we want, and that should do. Now just move that, and you can see here that we have the file props that has 3 different files with their properties. So now that we have this, let's just quickly go over to the server to set things up on the server. So I'm going to head back over to our file mutations, not here, sorry, our file upload mutations for our server here. And then here, I'm going to change this to file was, or single file was uploaded successfully. Single file upload successful. Save this. And in here, I'm going to create another mutation, and then I'll call this multiple file upload. And for the type here, our type is going to, of course, going to be our file upload response type. And then the expected arguments. So the argument that we are expecting basically is going to be a list of upload type. So I'm going to say the type here would be a new GraphQL list. Yep. So this would be a GraphQL list of our upload types. So basically we're expecting a list of upload types basically. And that should do for our arguments. Now for our resolve function here, we will just call the parent and the argument. So the argument is of course iPhone param. The parent here, we can just give that the type of any. And then in here, basically what I want to do is I'm just going to get this and I'm going to change the response from single to multiple file uploaded successfully. So let's change this to multiple file upload successful. All right, so now once we have this, we are then just going to log console.log the argument. So the argument file. So the file props basically that's part of the argument params that we are expecting. Okay, so now we need to register this in our index here. So I'm going to save this, and then let's head over to our index.ts here for our server. And then here I'm going to call our multiple file upload as the name here, and then this would be multiple file upload mutation. Okay, so we have registered this. Now it's time for us to head back to our client and then do things on our client. So I'm going to head over to our app.tsx here. And you can see here that we are console.login whatever is here. So let's move over to our mutations. And then in our mutations, I'm going to call this multiple file upload. And as usual, I have to get rid of this. Yep. Okay. And we'll also be using GQL. And yeah, let's define the mutation here. So the mutation here is called multiple file upload. Yeah. And our multiple file upload is expecting a file here, which is a list. All right. So we have to specify that by an array. So which is a list of files. And then we can then, as we have done, call our multiple file upload. And then here we will just pass the file here and pass the file props here. And then here we can call success, message, error status, and the token. Oh boy, why am I even specifying token here? Like, this is crazy, right? I mean, we're not really doing anything with any token here, and it's crazy. Okay, so this is just our mutation set up perfectly. What I want to do next is I want to call this inside of our app.tsx. So let's just head over to our app.tsx, which is here. And right here, we're going to call our multiple file upload function just as we did for our file upload. But then we would need to also define our multiple file upload to here. So I'm going to call multiple file upload, and we're going to pass the data and loading. And right now we have this flagging us an error. So let's call the use mutation and multiple file upload. And then here, sorry, this is wrong. This is supposed to be our multiple file upload. And then here on error, we have our error, which is type of our Apollo error. Yes, and we will just log this to the console. And of course, if things complete, so uncompleted too, we would pass our data here. And let's define our multiple response states here. So response multiple, and this is going to be called set response multiple. And this is also going to be a string. So yep. Okay, we have this error here because this and this are like kind of clouding. So what we can do is in the structuring, we can just like add our own like our own value here. So we can just call it, you know, just whatever you want to call it here. Yes, and of course, let's just call this. Or since we're not even using this, right? Let's just get rid of it. Right? Let's just get rid of it since we are we using it? No. We're not using it basically. We can still access the data here. So let's just get rid of it, and let's also get rid of it here too. Okay, now we have this. We have also called our response multiple. So for our error here, we're just going to set our response multiple, set response multiple to take our error message, and then on completed here, we're also going to call our set response multiple and our error, and sorry, oh boy, sorry, we are making a mistake here. So we're going to say if data, of course, just the same way we did for file upload, dot multiple file upload, and then success. So basically, if it has a success property, then we are going to alert here data multiple file upload and then the message. And we are also going to set response multiple title to also be assigned to the same value here. Save that. And now that we have done this, we'd have to scroll down here and then we would just call this our multiple, not this our multiple. I think it should be like response. What do we call it? I think we called it response multiple. Yeah. So let's call our response multiple here. And I'm going to save this right now. And one more thing here, which is in our function. So in our function here, we are going to call our multiple file upload. And of course, we are going to pass our variable here to be our data. And now I'm going to save this right now. And let's see in here, not here, sorry, a file upload here. I'm actually logging this to the console. So you see exactly the structure of what ApolloClient client gives to us on the server as a response for the files. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head back over to the browser and let's just clear this, right? And let me just upload like multiple files. So 2 and 3. Okay, so I think I've uploaded these files before, so I'm going to choose like, let me cancel. I'm going to choose like different files. So let me use 1, 2. Okay, I think I've uploaded this. I need another file. Oh boy, okay, let me use this. Send. Now we have multiple file upload successfully. So now let's see exactly what we get in the console here. So you can see right here that we are getting just like the former one, but then there's a problem here, which is such that the create read stream only appears for the first value. So for the next one, it does not appear basically. So, but then we have this promise here. I think this particular problem only happens to users who use like who are on a Mac, right? So if you try this on a Windows, you won't see this. You would just get this file here. You definitely get this file here, or say on like a Linux distro, you definitely get this file here. So this is the structure of what we are getting. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the arguments and the file prop of the arguments, and then I'm going to loop through the list of items here, basically this whole item here. So and then this is of course going to be an asynchronous function, as we would want to perform the read stream in here, and then we'd have the item and the index here, which is the number. And therefore, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to create a file props here. And this file props basically is going to wait for the promise. All right. So remember I said just a few seconds ago that this, you see, like for Mac users, right, this is exactly what it is going to return for you, right? It's basically not going to return this file props for some weird reason. I don't know why. It's just going to return this promise. But if you actually tested this on the Windows, right, you would see this file props, or on a Linux distro. But however it is, even if you just decided to handle this promise alone without this file, this promise alone would still return the file props. Okay, so now that we have the item promise here, we can then create the stream, or basically we can extract the create read stream as well as our file name and our MIME type from the file props. So I'm going to say create read stream, file name, and then the last is the MIME type. And this is from the file props. Okay, and now that we have this, we can then say our stream, which would be our create read stream, and we are then going to let me just copy what we have here because it's basically the same thing here. So after we have the stream, then we generate a unique name, and then we write the file to the server. And then after it is done performing this action here, which is this loop, it then returns for us our success property. So I'm going to save this right now, and what I'm going to do is in our server, so in our server here, there's already a file here. So I'm going to delete this file, right? Move to trash. Yep. So I'm going to head back over here and refresh this right now. And now let's select 3 different files. So 1, 2, not you, sorry. So 1, 2, and then 3. Now, if I hit upload, multiple file uploaded successfully, multiple file uploaded successfully. Now head back over here, and you can see all 3 files that we just uploaded right now. So yeah, that will be that for this video, and I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do not forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications bell for whenever I create a new video. Thank you.